Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. In the first part we designed this video streaming app in Figma, and today we are going to animate it with smartanimate. So without further ado, let's just jump in. So we have these two pages. The first is the home page and the second one is a movie subpage. And we designed this in the previous video, but if you don't want to, you can download it. The link is in the description. It's totally free. But first I want to talk about smartanimate. If you never used it, it's a pretty cool feature. I really love it. It's very easy to adapt and very easy to learn. So let's just quickly draw a frame here, and let's say we have a rectangle and I want to move this rectangle to the right, or change the color or change the size. I can easily do that if I am duplicating it, because we have an A state and a B state, and it always goes like this from the starting point to the finishing point. So let's say on this frame I want to move this object to the right. So what I need to do is switch to prototype mode, and for the first frame we need to add a starting point, and then we have these indicators here. You can use this on frames or components or any kind of elements. In this case I'm going to use it on this frame because I want to animate from this frame to this frame. And as you noticed, we have a totally different properties area here, and we have the interaction details. So on click, this is going to change to this state, but you can switch to on drag or while hovering, or there are different kind of interactions here. And we want to navigate to the frame 17. And we have this little preview here of the animation. And the most important part, because we don't want to use instant, we want to use smartanimate. You can even choose your easing modes here. I'm just going to use ease out, and the default animation time is 800 milliseconds. So I'm going to use that. And there is this little play button here. If you press this, we can see how our prototype works. So I just need to click on it, and that's it. My rectangle moves to the right. But what if I want to change the size of it? Like I want to make it smaller. I'm just going to refresh it with the key R, and it changes the size as well. What if I want to change the color? It changes the color as well. So this is pretty cool. So now we have a basic understanding how this smartanimate works. Let's just jump back to the design and start animating it. Animate these little cards first. Let's start with the Oblivion. And how to do this, I'm going to use actually a component. So I'm just going to drag it out of the frame. And I'm creating a component. And I also want to create a variant. So this is the first state, this is the second, and I want to create a third state as well, because first I want to appear on the screen, and the second we are going to add the hovering effect. So let's add one more, and in this one I'm just moving this a little bit down, maybe 20 pixels, using the shift down arrows, shift up arrows. And the whole variant, I'm going to set the opacity to 0. So we are going to navigate from 0 opacity to 100 opacity. And from this to this, I want to add the hover effect. And I want to make this image bigger. And I'm moving up a little bit, and the titles and the categories I'm just moving up a little bit. So now I am going to connect this, switching to prototype, and with this little dot I'm going to connect it to the next variant. And for this one I'm using after delay. So let's say it's 400 now, and with this one I'm going to connect it, and I'm set this while hovering, and it's changing to the third variant, and it's smart animate, and maybe ease in and out. Okay, now what we have this oblivion component. I can actually delete this one from here. So I'm switching back to design, and I'm deleting this, and I want to add back this interactive component back to the frame. So I'm selecting the first frame, I'm looking for my component here, which is oblivion, let's say this is oblivion 2. And just simply dragging here, and I want to align it to the top and to the left, and I'm selecting this whole frame, switching to prototype, and I'm going to add the starting point here, so we know that this is the starting point of our animation. So let's just test it and let's see if it works. I'm just hitting R to refresh it. So it works. We have the first animation, which is a kind of like a dissolve and a movement with the text and the rating. And if I hover it, I have the hover animation as well. And basically what I'm going to do, I'm going to repeat the process to all of these elements, but I'm using different techniques. So now I'm going to grab the Revenant. I'm switching back to design. Let's just put this here. And I'm going to do the same. Making a component, Revenant 2, and adding 3 variants. And just like in the first one, here I'm moving up the text by 20 pixels and moving down the rating by 20 pixels, and I'm selecting the whole variant and setting the opacity to 100 to 0, and in this one, in the third one, I'm going to increase the size, and I am moving up the text by 20 pixels. And one thing is very important to do this kind of zoom in effect, that your image should be masked. So if you can see on the layer panel, it's masked. So now I'm just going to connect them. And this one is after delay. Let's check the first one. What's the setup there? 400. So after delay 400. Maybe I'm going to delay it a bit more so they are not appearing in the same time. And smart animate ease in, ease out, that's good. and I'm going to convert this, connect this to the third one, which is our hovering effect. I'm just quickly checking what I was setting up here by hovering, and 800 is in and is out. By hovering, okay, this looks good. So we can add back this component to the frame as well. I'm switching back to design and deleting this one and searching for the component Revenant 2, which is here. Simply grab it. And I know it's a bit tricky to see because the first state has no opacity at all, but if you hover or hold down the Alt option, you can see where is your element. So in this case, this is 13 pixels from the top. So I'm just going to connect it and let's see if it works. It works. It has the hover, and this one has the hover as well. So now I'm going to animate this one. Actually, I'm going to drag this out of the frame, the whole thing. So again, I'm going to create a component, Interstellar 2, and I'm adding a variant to it. And in this case, I want to animate the text coming from the bottom, like fading in from the bottom. So in the first state, I'm going to select everything and move down by 30 pixels and setting the opacity to 0. And this one, I'm moving it to the top and setting opacity to 0. And the image is masked as well, so there's a rectangle behind it, same size as the picture. And what I want to do here is, in this case, I'm using this crop function to resize, because this image is cropped, because there are lots of other different text. So I am going to increase this a bit. And I'm setting the opacity to 0 as well. Okay, now we can connect them, switching to prototype, grabbing this little blue dot, connecting to the second one, and again after delay, and the delay I want to use 0 here, and I want to use ease out. Don't forget to switch to smartanimate, and maybe I'm using a bigger number here, like 1300. And let's see how that works by adding back the component to the frame. So let's just search for it and grab it back, align to the top, and align with these cards here. Okay, let's check it out if it works. Okay, that's wonderful. But we have some problem here. It's overlapping the menu. And I want to move the menu on top of everything. So if you check it again, it's supposed to be good. Okay, that's great. And the menu, now we are going to animate the navigation bar, this sidebar, and I want to just mask it from the left. So I'm going to grab it out of the frame. And I want to use the same rectangle, the same size. So I'm going to duplicate this and select every content inside of this frame. And I'm going to use a mask here. So in this case, if I animate it, it will just slide in. So it's going to just reveal the animation, the navigation bar. So let's create a component. And create a variant from it. You can actually reorder your elements inside this component set. That's what I'm doing now because it's very large, so I don't want to use this space here. And what I'm going to do here is I want to set the width of the first variant to 1 and the opacity to 0. And I'm switching to prototype and just connect it to the next variant. And this is after delay as well, maybe 100 milliseconds. And this is supposed to be fast, the animation itself, so I'm setting that to 400. And let's paste it back to the frame and let's see if it works. Navigation 2. I'm using the alignment, so it perfectly aligns within our frame. And it's on top of everything, so that's good. Okay, so actually that looks okay to me. And now I want to animate these cards, simply using these masking animation techniques as well. And I'm going to just reveal them from the bottom, like one by one. So let's move on to that task. I'm going to select all of these little thumbnails. These are already masked, so I am grabbing out of the frame, just putting it here. Let's just lower the size of this, it's too big. And let's start with the first one, which is Inception. Create a component and add the variant to it. And in the first one, I am lowering the size of this mask to 1 pixel and set the opacity to 0. Maybe I'm going to move this text 20 pixels up and set the opacity to 0 as well. And set this little watch bar to 1 pixel and set the opacity to 0 again. And set this gradient, this overlay gradient, 0 as well. Now we can connect them. And it's after delay as well. And let's say it's 400 and the animation is 500. Let's try ease in and ease out. Okay, I'm going to paste it back to the frame to see if it works. Going back to design mode, selecting the frame, searching for our component, which is Inception 2. And I am just dragging it here. And I believe it was 24 pixels from the title. Yes. So let's see if it works. Okay, that's wonderful. And basically I'm going to just repeat the same effect for all these cards. Making a component, making a variant, setting the mask to 1 pixels on the bottom and setting opacity to 0. Move this up 20 pixels and set opacity to 0. Set the gradient opacity to 0 as well and connect them. After delay, and here I want to add the delay because I don't want them to appear in the same time. So the first one was 400, so let's say this is 500. Ease in and ease out. Okay, so we are done with these thumbnails. I'm going to put them back into place. Searching for the component, which is doing 2. And again, using your mouse and the Alt option key, you can locate where is your card. And this was 4 pixels from the other one. The next one is Joker. And finally the last one is finally I found it. And I'm placing this one 4 pixels as well. And let's try the prototype. Wonderful. Now we are working. It has the hover effects as well. It looks pretty good. Okay, so now we can move on to the second frame, which is the Oblivion movie page, subpage. And I will do the same things here as well. First, what I want to do is connect this this featured tile to this one. So if we are clicking on it, it's going to take us into this frame. So how I'm going to do that is switching to prototype mode, grabbing this plus arrow and setting this to on click, and I don't use smart animate here for the two frames to change. I'm going to set it to instant, and let's see if that works. Okay, it's working. Now we can start to animate these elements one by one again. And as you can see, the navigation is shrinked from the first one. So in the first frame, in the home page, it looks like this, and I want to shrink it down. And how I'm going to do that? First of all, I'm going to grab this navigation out of here. I'm going to detach it. So just moving around some stuff so we have some space. So for the first one, we have a mask for the whole navigation bar, but I'm going to delete that. I want to add a mask for the logo, and I want to add the mask for the menu itself, the icons and text, because I want to transform this opened navigation bar to this closed one. And we don't need this because we are going to create a component, like a navigation transform, and I'm creating a variant. But first of all, we need to add the masks for the first variant. So that's what I'm going to do. Sorry about that. And I'm just simply creating a rectangle and want to put it underneath the logo. Select the rectangle and the logo and just create a mask. And I want to do the same here. Another rectangle. Make sure that you cover the whole menu area with the text. And selecting the menu with the rectangle and hit masking again. And now we can duplicate it and shrink everything down. So this one, we don't need text, just the logo itself, just the icon itself. The same here, we don't need the text, just the logos, the icons. And the background rectangle, I want to set up to the width is going to be 100, and I want to align everything in the middle. The logo is in the middle, icons are in the middle, and the profile picture is in the middle as well. Okay, now we can resize this because we don't need this big, and we can start connecting them. And it's going to appear almost instantly, like 100 milliseconds. And I'm setting this to smart animate and easing out 500, let's say it's 400 milliseconds. Okay, now we can actually delete this one and add back the navigation transform component. Just here, aligning to the left and in the middle. And let's test it out. So going back to the first frame, refreshing by hitting R and clicking. Okay, there's a bit of delay here. It works very good, but there is a little bit of delay here that I don't want to use. Maybe I want to use an instant. So let's switch back to prototype and let's see. It's 100, let's say it's 0, which is always switches to 1 milliseconds by default. Okay, that looks much better. So now we have our navigation animated. We can move on to the next objects. And first of all, I want to animate this background. So what I'm doing is just grabbing out of the frame, and I am making a component again and a variant again. And in the first one, I want to, it has the mask as well. So I just want to increase the size a little bit. And setting the opacity to 0, switching back to prototype, connect them, and it's after delay, 1 millisecond. And for the animation of this picture, I want to use maybe 1200, we will see. Now we have the background smart animation setup, we can put it back. Background, search for the component, align them in the middle and set it to the back. Send it to the back and let's see if it works. And it works actually beautifully. So that's great. With this one that we have here, the rating, I'm just going to use a simple one. So I am dragging it out of the frame. Actually duplicating it. Component and variant, and I just want to set this to 0. After delay, 400 milliseconds, and the animation duration is 800 milliseconds. Okay, let's paste it back, but we have the old one here still. I just want to check where is it exactly. So 140 and 203. And 203. Let's check it. Okay, that looks good. We can move on to the other elements. And first of all, I'm going to animate these ones with the same techniques that we used in the home page for the continue watching. So I'm just dragging this out of the frame, moving back to here. I'm just adding a little bit of space between them, and again repeating the same thing. And here we don't have other elements, so we are just playing with the background and the mask. I hope this time it works. By the way, guys, these are my all-time favorite movies. The Oblivion, Interstellar, and Revenant. I really like this kind of movies. Let me know which one is your favorite in the comments below, because I am curious. I really like this post-apocalyptic sci-fi kind of stuff. Okay, now we have all of them. We can connect and prototype after delay. Let's say it's 400. Ease out. Let's say ease in and ease out. After delay 500. Ease in and ease out. That's okay. After delay 600. Okay, let's put them back to the frame. Switching back to design mode and searching for the components. Trailer 1. And trailer 2. And finally the third one. So let's just appreciate this while it's working. Let's move on to these ones. And again, I'm just going to grab them out of the frame. Creating a component, creating a variant. And these ones has masks as well. So what I want to do is to appear from the left side. And the text, I'm just going to move it 20 pixels to the right, and the opacity to 0, and repeat the process here as well. Moving to 20 pixels to the right and setting to 0. And now we can connect them. Also like you might also, that's going to be the name of them. So we can search it in the components. So as usual, after delay, let's see actually if 800 works. Maybe it's going to work. maybe not. We can test it out. And let's just put it back to the frame. First one and the second one. And this one was 16 pixels from the title and 40 pixels from the first card. Let's see how we are looking. Okay, it looks good, but I want to add a bit of a delay to this second card because they are appearing at the same time. So to do that, let's check it. What is the delay time? It's 800 for this one. So maybe set the delay. We need to add the higher number here. And let's see if we add 1200. Okay, that's perfect. Now we can move to the title and the categories and the description and the cost as well. But this is our first group. I'm going to paste it here. And for this title, I want to add a mask again. Because I want to reveal this text. So let's put it in the mask. Let's select everything, create a component, create a variant. And here I just want to simply move down the text until it disappears. And these ones I'm just going to move down by 30 pixels and set the opacity to 0. Connecting back to them. After delay maybe 0, we need to check it out. It's a lot about testing and experimenting with these numbers, because sometimes all the elements appear at the same time and that doesn't look good. It needs to have some kind of dynamic. And 800 actually looks fine. Oblivion title main. Okay, so let's select artboard and add it back, Oblivion title main. And it was 32 pixels. It was 32 pixels, I believe so. So let's test it. Okay, that looks good. Now let's see the cast. It was 32 as well. It is 32 pixels from the buttons. Just pasting here, creating a component. And this one is in auto layout. So let's see if we change the spacing between them. Let's say now the spacing between them is -8. Let's see if we add 32 or 16. And I want to just move back to the frame because it was getting out of it. So in the second variant, let's change back the spacing to -8. I don't think it's going to work, but let's see. And the little title, I'm just setting the opacity to 0. And let's connect them after delay, maybe 1000. Okay. And this is the cast, so we can search for it. And test it out. Okay, actually it works, but the delay is too big, obviously. So I'm going to reduce the delay to 400, and I want to set the opacity for the cast to 0. Okay, I was actually not believing that it's going to work, but it's worked. So it's not the best animation, but it looks good. And I believe the one last thing that we need to do is adding some kind of hover effect to the watch now, and this favorite icon button. So let's do that as well. I'm going to cut it and paste it back here. Oops. So component and variant, and what colors should we use here? Maybe a black. For example, if we change this back to white and this one to black. And if we increase the spacing between them, no, that's going to increase the size of the button, so that's not going to work. So let's just try this. So this is by hovering, because this is a hovering effect. And let's see if 800 works. Let's search for it. It was watch now. Okay, that's very slow and not even in the right direction, so let's delete this and create another variant. And first I want the button just to appear, and I'm simply doing that by setting the opacity to 0. And with this one we can set the color. So the first is just appearing. So it's the after delay, which is 400. This one is 500, the animation itself, and this one is the hovering effect. Okay, let's check it now. Oh, actually it's here already, so we don't need to grab it. Okay, that's faster and it's appearing. Okay, so last thing to do is this favorite button, and maybe I'm going to change the state, or I'm just going to change it to black. I'm not sure yet. Well, actually it depends on your taste, but for now I'm just going to set this to 100 and change the heart color to black. And connect them, and this one is on click, smartanimate 400, and we need to add it back to the frame. But we need to have an appear, like a dissolve effect. So I'm just going to duplicate this. And this one is after delay, 400, and the opacity is 0. Let's test it out. Okay, it's not working. For some reason. Maybe this is another bug, or it got confused with the duplications. I don't actually know, or maybe I can try to add it again, if that helps. Okay, it worked. So it was not updating for some reason. Let's test it out. And everything animates perfectly. We have the menu animation on the home page. We have the card animation and hovering effects. We have this revealing animation, and once we are clicking on the oblivion, we have these other effects that the navigation is like shrinking or collapsing to this smaller size. We have the same revealing animations here and some other ones here. So that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you very much for watching, and if you like my videos or like this video, and if you want to learn more about UI design, please subscribe to my channel and like this video. It helps a lot. So thank you, that's it, and see you in the next video.